Hello and welcome to today's Think Tank Accelerate program, Key Trends for 2014. Today's presentation is given by Peggy Hefner, PR and Social Media Manager at Deckert LLP, and Lisa Jaycox, Head of U.S. Marketing Communications at Gorkana. The presentation is entitled, The Visual Social Media Platforms Are Coming, How Tumblr, Flickr, Instagram, Infographics, Pinterest, YouTube, Vine, and Slideshare will bring a revolution in legal marketing. Today's presentation is just one of 8 short webinar-style presentations, each addressing a key trend we believe is coming in 2014. After each recording in the Accelerate program is made, it will be subsequently made available on the Think Tank page on the legal marketing website at legalmarketing.org/thinktank. As I said, today's presentation is given by Peggy Hefner and Lisa Jaycox on the topic of visual social media. Lisa and Peggy will explain how savvy legal marketers and PR professionals should show and not tell their stories on social media and harvest higher levels of engagement as a result. If you choose to comment on this presentation using social media itself, please do so using the hashtags Accelerate and Visual. And I'll now turn things over to Peggy and Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ian. This is Lisa Jaycox, Head of U.S. Marketing and Communications at Gorkana. I want to start out by saying we're visually driven creatures. 90% of the information transmitted in our brains is visual, and images are processed 60,000 times faster than text. It's no wonder that we have used social media to winnow down our communication methods from 1,000-word blogs to 140-character tweets and now to wordless images. According to ROI research, 44% of people are more likely to engage with brands that post pictures. People are judging you by your visuals on your website and on social media. Photos on Facebook generate 53% more likes than the average post. 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. 500,000 videos are shared on Twitter every day, and 5 tweets per second contain a Vine link. Instagram has 55 million photos shared per day and 1.2 billion daily likes. Pinterest is now the 2nd largest driver of traffic worldwide, while Tumblr is the 5th most visited site in the United States. Forbes says a picture is worth even more than 1,000 words when it comes to strengthening your company's brand. So what are you doing to strengthen your brand visually and make your ROI worth the weight of your efforts? Infographics work because good visual content elicits an emotional response. When working in Twitter, Vine, YouTube, Instagram, Flickr, Pinterest, or even Foursquare, it's the same concept. You're telling a story with images to better engage with your audience on a meaningful level. Now let's talk about how companies are leveraging these social media platforms, especially the visual ones. Peggy Hefner will take you through some legal examples in a minute, but first, I'd like to showcase American Airlines' social footprint because it's a large one. American is active on Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, and many of the visual platforms, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, and Vine. On Instagram, American shares its photos, and travelers share theirs from the air using American Views, the hashtag American Views. It's a good thing we can all use our cell phones in the air now. Talk about a timely social media campaign. American also shares more than 12,500 photos on Flickr. And it shares infographics on its website to tell the stories behind its initiatives around its British Airways partnership or its new fleet of airliners. Just last week, American announced its merger with U.S. Airways via a photo album on Facebook. 2,000 people liked this. 1.1 million like American Airlines. Overall, American's merger-related social media campaign around the hashtag New American garnered a lot of traffic. One of the more interesting elements was its Vine contest, where it awarded a flight to London on its new 777-300ER to one lucky Viner. This garnered hundreds of responses in the form of user-generated content on Vine. It's not always about doing. Often it's just best to listen. American might not have a Tumblr page, but if people tag it, American responds. By listening, you get to scroll through a crowdsourced view of your brand. This is key for reputation managers who want to know what's important to their company's audiences, as told in numbers of shares, likes, comments, pins, tumbles, retweets, etc. And now I'd like to turn it over to Peggy Hefner of Deckert LLP.
Thanks, Lisa. And so now we'll take a look. You know, it's great to see a consumer brand or something as large as American Airlines and what their visual or social media footprint looks like. But how does that apply to the legal space, especially, you know, when we have perhaps much fewer resources to handle social media, and obviously adding all of these different channels, it would be extremely difficult with limited resources. So here's a look at some screenshots from my firm in terms of where most firms are at today. So we have LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, sort of the big three. And 100% of AmLaw 100 companies or AmLaw 100 firms have LinkedIn company pages. 80% are on Twitter, and there are a handful of larger firms using Facebook, but many smaller firms are actually using Facebook pretty successfully. And then, of course, we have blogs. 75% of the AmLaw 200 have blogs. So we're sort of still getting a hold of the main social media networks, or the original social media networks, and now it's time to think about moving into some of these more exciting visual channels. There are a couple of firms who are trying this already. As you can see, here's an example from Womble Carlisle. Womble is a mid-sized national firm that's primarily based in the Southeast, and they have a YouTube channel. So here they post various videos about the firm, about a number of their practices. They have an attorney who's a former journalist that helps do some of the voiceovers for their videos. And so it's helpful as you're getting started, whether it's visual or something as YouTube that's video related, or any of these other platforms, to take a look at the resources that you have within your firm and who might be a good fit to help you as you sort of explore these new channels. Next, we have an example from Richard Sue, who is a patent attorney at Sherman & Sterling. And Richard has started a blog called the One Page Blog, where he attempts to describe some very complex IP issues in one page or less, the equivalent of one page or less. And with visual being such a great way to communicate complex topics and such a powerful way to do it, he has migrated towards video and is now posting videos on this page. One of the greatest things about the videos that Richard is doing is he actually utilizes his daughter to help with the videos. And so I've had the opportunity to hear Richard speak, and he says that he is not really good at illustrating some of these concepts, but his 13-year-old daughter is a bit more artistic, and so he actually features her in the videos and helps her, or she helps him rather, describe, you know, here we have IP assets in M&A, and illustrates some of these advanced topics. So it's very, very entertaining to get the family involved while also marketing the firm. Here we have an infographic from MoFo, and MoFo is, you know, they work with, they're known for working with a lot of technology companies, and so they're really at the forefront, one of the early adopters in terms of firms using social media. And they also have a social media law practice, and so it's no surprise that they, of course, are one of the early adopters in terms of using infographics. Here's an infographic from their socially aware social media law blog, where they illustrate the time spent on social media, the average time spent. And if you think about individual firms, the amount of statistics, the amount of information that we have surrounding these complex legal topics, infographics are a really great visual way to demonstrate, you know, all of the knowledge that we have. And so infographics would really sort of be a natural fit for a lot of firms to sort of break into the visual media space. Next, we have an example from DLA Piper, and this is actually using Flickr. So we talked a little bit more about Instagram, but Flickr has been around a little bit longer. People might be more comfortable with it. And you can see here that they have a lot of examples from events that they have all over the world. DLA Piper is the largest firm on the AmLaw 100, so a huge firm, a lot of lawyers, a lot of locations, and they're able to really capture a lot of the happenings or the events that take place in their offices around the world or with their clients around the world, and post those photos on the Flickr channel. So that's something that I think, you know, again, when you think about all of the firms that we're dealing with or that we all work with, the number of events that we have, the number of client gatherings or alumni gatherings that we host, just gathering up those photos and posting them in a central location would be something that would probably be pretty easy to adopt. And then last but not least, we have an example from Slideshare. And this is actually, we thought we'd give a shout out to the LMA since they were so gracious in hosting us. This is an example from the LMA Bay Area chapter. And that chapter in particular is known for their embracing of marketing technology. And so at their recent LMA Tech Conference, they utilized Slideshare to post. They have 46 presentations that they posted on this channel where people can then go on and watch the presentations that were part of the conference. And so, again, thinking back to our firms and all of the events that we have, all of the speaking engagements that our lawyers are involved in, posting information or presentations such as these to something like Slideshare to make them more accessible. Obviously, you may have to go through with a fine-tooth comb and take out things that may be client-sensitive or that you wouldn't want to share with an audience as broad as the Internet. But with a few tweaks, this would be something that a lot of firms could adapt very easily. And so what are some of the successful or strategies for adapting visual social media? And I think a lot of these apply to social media in general, but we'll try to talk about them from more of a visual social perspective. So first off, you want to define your goals. And when you think about this, it should really be in terms of what is the most important purpose, or what are the business objectives of your firm? Are there practices that you're trying to grow? Are you trying to do more in terms of recruiting? How do you think that social media would be able to advance the goals that already exist within your firm? And then think of ways that you can apply social media to meet those goals. Secondly, you need to understand your audience. So it may be something, for example, Pinterest. We know that the demographics of Pinterest are largely women. If you have a popular women's initiative program within your firm, if you're trying to recruit more women attorneys to your firm, Pinterest might be the right fit for you. If that's not the case, maybe it's not the right fit. So you really want to think before you reach out and start a presence on another social media network. Is it the right fit? Is the audience that's already there the right fit for your firm? Are they interested in hearing the message that you have to deliver before you sort of embark upon a new endeavor? Next, as I sort of mentioned earlier, you need to consider your resources. So for me, as an example at my firm, I'm pretty much the only person working on social media. So anytime we are about to embark on a new social network, we need to really think about the time that is going to be needed to commit to that network, to really gather a strong following, and to be able to give a message consistently to keep that following engaged. So think about, before you get started on something, do you have the resources, do you have the momentum to sort of sustain a presence on that network and make it something meaningful for your followers? If it's something related to video, such as YouTube or Vine, do you have people in-house who can help produce those videos? Do you need to outsource them? What would the cost be involved in that? What budget is that going to come out of? These are all the sort of things that you need to really keep in mind at the outset before you start on any of these social media channels. So once you have those first 3 steps in place, you have your goals defined, you know the audience, the demographics of a particular network, you know you have the resources to support a sustained presence on those networks. Now you have the opportunity, or you have the resources that you need to get that leadership buy-in. So for a lot of us at firms, even though we are sort of on the big 3 social networks at this point, it's still something that, you know, lawyers are naturally risk averse. They're aware of all the risks of social media. It's sometimes harder to sell them on the benefits. So show them, you know, this is how something like YouTube or Instagram, how they can help us meet our existing business objectives. And once you have identified and really articulated how that will happen, how the audience fits, how you have the resources to accomplish that, it should be a lot easier to sell leadership on adapting these new platforms. As Lisa mentioned earlier, you want to also listen to what is already happening on these channels. So in the case of American Airlines, on Tumblr, they don't have a particular presence, but their consumers are already there talking about the brand. And so making sure that you're monitoring what's already going on, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, any other platform, what's already being said about your firm, and get ideas from that. What are the topics that you need to address? What do you think people would want to hear from you? It's also important as you get started on any social network to really just take the time to learn the social network itself. So when we first started on Twitter, it probably took us 2 or 3 weeks before we actually sent out our first tweet, because we spent a lot of time just observing how things worked. What are the types of information that people share on Twitter? How do you shorten those links? Just the mechanics of it, and just understanding sort of what the etiquette is for each channel. You want to make sure that you're taking time to do that. Lisa, was there anything in particular on that listening point that you think is worth adding there?
No, I think it's good. From a visual standpoint, listening takes on more of a conceptual, check out what other types of visual media people are sharing and how you might fit in with that. Showing what it is that you're trying to get across is a lot easier if you know what people are kind of going to, and using humor, like the cats infographic that I shared tends to resonate pretty well on social channels. So I just think from a visual standpoint, you want to be checking out what people are posting visually, and then how you can turn that around to benefit your brand and your goals, of course, too.
Exactly, and even as you get started on each of these networks. So yesterday my firm posted a picture to Facebook from our London office wearing some very funny holiday sweaters, or jumpers as they call them in the UK, and we got a lot of great engagement and likes after that post. And so taking a look at that and seeing, wow, people really connected with this photo, they found it funny, they were interested in what was happening, gives you an idea of the type of posts you should be planning more of. So, should we do more photos that are related to our charitable efforts? Should we do, things that are funny as well, like Lisa just mentioned? So really taking a look at what is keeping people engaged, and that will give you a great idea in terms of the content that you should be planning to the extent that you can plan it out in advance. Make sure that you're distributing beyond one network. So if you're taking a photo and you're posting it to Facebook, you could also be posting it on Instagram or Flickr. You could be posting it on your website. You could send a link to that photo on Twitter. Think about all the different ways that you can distribute it, and you don't have to necessarily be locked into one network in particular. For my firm, if we have a video that we post on YouTube, we still send out an email alert to clients who would be interested in that particular topic, and that really helps one, not only drive traffic to that piece of content, but also drive the right traffic to it. So if we do a video related to cybersecurity, we're making sure we send it to the mailing list of people that we know is interested in that space, and they're a lot more likely to watch the video and get something out of it, which always helps. And last but not least, make sure that you're measuring and sharing results. So it sounds sort of obvious, but if you start at the outset with defining your goals, you'll know what you need to measure, whether it's views, whether you're sending out to a particular mailing list, as I mentioned, and you're driving the right sort of traffic to a particular video or post, and then sharing that information back to leadership to say it's working. We are, our audience is responding to this content, or they're not responding, and we need to do, a video that goes in this direction. Whatever it is, if you continue to report that back, it's going to be easy to keep leadership involved, keep them interested in it, and ultimately have a successful social media program, whether it's visual or otherwise. Lisa, anything that you would add in terms of measurement?
Just that I think when you're getting leadership buy-in, measurement and sharing the results, or the results that you're expecting, is a good way of continuing to build that strong relationship between social media and the objectives that you were trying to achieve. So, whether it's any of the things that Peggy mentioned, or website views, et cetera, that's supporting the business from a numeric or quantitative or qualitative perspective, that's going to help your executive team really believe in what you're doing and hopefully give you more resources to do even more with social media.
So thank you again to the LMA for inviting us to talk about visual social media. Our contact information is listed for Lisa and myself. We are both available on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we hope that you enjoyed the program and got some good takeaways to take back to your firms. We'll see you out there on social media.
Thanks, everyone.